Hey guys, welcome back to another Fire Friday. This one is extremely special to me because we have not only my dear friend, but a repeat of Fire Friday because she brings so much value. We wanted to bring Susan West back to Fire Friday. She is a completely different person from when we saw her last time. All of us are. And this is why this Fire Friday is super special to me. Susan, welcome back. Thank you so much for being a guest again on Fire Friday.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
So as we were kicking off and we were talking, it's just crazy how which we were talking about change and how we are all just evolving and growing. And, from the last time you were on Fire Friday to today, how much has changed in your life and my life, and how we can also maybe inspire other people to not be so hard on themselves if change is not drastic, or, like you were talking about, those incremental changes, those subtle changes. And it's no surprise, a lot of people have obviously noticed the big change in my life. And you said something about me being this poster child of change, right? But that is not going to be the case forever. It's not always that
Right.
case. It's just a change that has been noticeable also because of my vulnerability and willing to share. And some people maybe are going through changes and they are not sharing some of their vulnerability, and that's okay too. You have witnessed a lot of my personal growth and change over the last, I would say, 7, 8 years, right? There were times
Mhm.
where I wasn't proud to share some of the changes that were going on in my life, good and bad, right? And now I'm in a completely different season, thanks to mentors like yourself and my coaching. And, you also obviously are always going through an evolution, and you mentor people and you coach other leaders. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? Let's talk a little bit about the essentials of growth and what happens over time, and what does this mean, and how can people have grace with themselves as they navigate through change and the evolution, and what happens in our minds and our hearts and around us, our environment, when we start to
Right.
change.
Well, I want to say this, those, 6, 7 years, you were battling yourself. Like you knew you wanted change. You knew and you were changing all these things, but you weren't committed from an outsider looking in to really making the changes that would gain you the grace. So it was so conflicting, I think, for you. And
Yes.
now that conflict has turned into commitment, and that commitment has turned into grace and transparency that you didn't have before, but you tried so hard. I look as an outsider looking and watching you, Veronica, and I think you're still the same person you were then, but you were able to reconcile, if I don't commit 100%, I'm never going to make the changes that I know in my soul I was meant to make. So you are only now manifesting who you were supposed to be then, but you were your own worst enemy. You were battling yourself.
Yes.
So it's been
That
great to
is spot
see that.
on.
It's been great to see that. And I think you had to really also reconcile with putting the right people in your life and being willing to listen to some extreme people. Like John is extreme, and people can look at John Cheplack and think this extreme being, but that extremeness is what greatness needs. And I think that that's really important that you connected with it. So your commitment to change has given you the grace, and you are manifesting who you wanted to be, and you've gotten rid of that, a lot of that inner conflict. And what we were talking about that Veronica mentioned was you're a poster child in that, yes, you're sharing, but you've always been sharing. You're sharing differently, and you are a poster child because physically you have drastically changed. And I think that that's the difference. You've been working on all these changes, and it shows so clearly. I've been working on things 30, 60, 90 days, equally as challenging for me, but someone might look at me and think, well, what's changed? You still look the same as you did 90 days ago, but I'm a better person because I really believe we don't stand still. We either move forward or we move backward. And it's it's a constant reconciliation for me in my mind on how I can be better, how I can improve, what I need to, like, I've got the discipline down. I get up at 5 every morning, but how can I get up at 5, put my feet on the ground and be happy about getting up at 5? How can I go to the same gym, but push myself harder than I pushed myself before? How can I change it up? How can I give myself rest that I don't always give myself? And that is part of it too. I went to the gym this morning, said to my trainer, listen, I got home last night, I didn't do my evening workout. I said, I allowed my body to rest. For some people, not doing your evening workout means you're cheating. For me, it means, Susan, give your body a rest and allow yourself not to go, go, go all the time. So this life that we live, if we're not getting better and then sharing how we're getting better, I think that it's a disservice to ourselves and to others. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and I want to kind of, first of all, echo everything that you said. And you've always been such a great mentor to me and always spoken from a place of love and honesty. And, at times I wasn't ready to receive it, right? And you talked about John being intense, and I am an intense person too. And oftentimes, overwhelm is the number one killer of results and productivity. And I remember I would say, Susan, I'm going to do this and this and this. And you're like, one thing at a time, like give yourself some grace. You don't have to conquer the world in one day. And because I'm an intense person, and as I've learned a little bit more about my personality, it's all gas, no brakes, right?
Right.
I've had to learn to implement some brakes, and that's where the rest comes in. That's where a lot of the things, shutting your mind off. And just this morning, as I was thinking, some of the things that I have to do, some of the things I want to do, and just all the pressure that I pile on top of myself, I was like, okay, what are the small wins that we can celebrate, Veronica? What are the small things, right? What is the number one thing you need to tackle today that's
Right.
going to make today successful? What is it? And I'm kind of breaking it up into buckets: in business, in personal, and maybe in, spirituality. What are the things today you'd love to just accomplish and give yourself a pat on the back for winning, rather than being so freaking hard on yourself that you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So, it's interesting because I started accountability with one of my agents, and we're, kind of holding each other accountable on our workouts and, this. So I have been working out, but the commitment was twice a day as well. And it's like, okay, look, I'm going to celebrate that yesterday I worked out once.
Right.
I did have every intention of, doing the 2 workouts, but I also know I busted my butt all day getting our retreat ready for our leadership team. And, I couldn't pile any more on because I wouldn't be performing at my best for myself. And I remember you used to kind of give me like this advice, and I was too hard headed, and I'm the knucklehead when it comes to certain
Right.
things. And I was like, but Susan, I can do it all. And then I wouldn't do anything.
Right.
Right. So I just think learning to celebrate your small wins, like today, it was just like, all right, what do you need to do today? Right. I knew I needed to speak to my CPA. I knew I needed to get something over to her. And that was on the personal side. I'm like, okay,
Right.
that's going to make today, that's going to give me a check mark of a win for today that I could say, you go, girl.
And every time we do a check mark, we move forward better and faster. And it's constant reconciliation, I think also. So last night I gave myself a break, and my body needs a break. Like, I can feel that about myself. But this morning, finished my workout, do the things that I've already done today. And I thought, tonight you can't give yourself a break. So I also think it's about extreme honesty with what do we need, what does our body need. And back to what you said before, again, you weren't ready to commit. So this whole idea that people will say, I'm going to do all of this, and it is an excuse to just do nothing, because my favorite expression is one mailbox at a time. When I'm running, I just say, today I'm going to run one more mailbox than I ran yesterday, because the fact is, you're not going to go from not running to running a marathon. Now, some extreme crazy people can, and bless them for being able to do that. But as a rule, our human nature is such that we need to just eat something one bite at a time, and you'd be all in. And that's just an excuse. The moment that we don't accomplish what we said we were going to accomplish, oh, well, I'm not going to do it all. I'm not going to do anything. So I have someone else that I've been talking to regularly about, stop saying you're going to do everything. because you end up not committing to anything. And I think the other thing is, Veronica, our word is so important. So now I see you, when you stand up and say you're going to do something, you do it. And I think as many times in the past as we have disappointed ourselves, we become somebody that lets ourselves down, and we don't understand why we don't have self-confidence and self-belief. We don't understand the anxiety that we have experienced comes from continually letting ourselves down. So that's the other thing. I bet you're less anxious and more confident than you've ever been, because you know if Veronica says she's going to do it, she's going to do it.
Yes, and I will say yes to everything you just said. And I want to give you guys an example. For example, I had, I stopped drinking, right? And then I also started changing my diet. And people were like, okay, so when are you going to start working out, killing it in the gym? And I was like, look, I've got to take this in baby steps, because for me, I knew it was about the mental strength that I needed to commit to a decision that when I looked at pretty much all the different parts of my life where there was chaos, alcohol was around it.
But
So that was a
scary?
big
Can I just stop you there? It had to have been incredibly scary to stop drinking, because you were the life of the party. Remember wasn't it
So was it
scary?
scary?
Scary to stop drinking. Like, not only I've imagined some physical effects, because when we do something for a certain amount of time, not doing it impacts us physically, but I would imagine as a person, if I don't drink, if I'm not partying, if I'm not doing this with other people, talking with the girls about a glass of wine at the end of the evening, who am I? Like, did that impact the who am I?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of my identity was around networking events and, like you said, being the life of the party and just, living life on the edge. And, I had to come to terms with, am I willing to discover who I truly am by making this decision? Am I willing to, walk away from the life that I always knew that I thought was real, to truly embark on this journey that was going to be deep? It was going to be challenging. It was going to, I would say, make me face some demons that I wasn't willing to face because I was masking so many things in my life. Absolutely, it was scary. It's still scary because there's thoughts of, do you relapse? Are you boring? I've made a lot of decisions have come with this, not drinking. I've learned to be still with myself. I've learned to enjoy being in my own company. I've learned to have conversations with myself that I would avoid having because I just didn't love myself enough.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I'm not saying, okay, guys, I guess maybe I can say it. I didn't think I was an alcoholic, but maybe I was.
Mm-hmm.
I have an alcoholic grandfather. I have an alcoholic father. And for years, I never thought that was the case. But, well, yeah, maybe I was a really functioning one. Maybe having 2 glasses of wine or 2 bottles of wine every day isn't categorized that if you're a functioning professional who shows up to work the next day. But your mind is not clear. Your heart is not clear. Your energy is not focused. So I had to come to terms with a lot of things were going to come to light that I wasn't willing to face.
Right.
And, it came to a point that I was just ready to own my own shit.
Right.
I was ready to just own it and deal with it. And it was scary. I was like, some people are not going to recognize me. And like my good mentor, Colleen Otero says, you are going to have to reintroduce yourself at times. And I had to reintroduce myself to myself and to others. Yes. There are still times where I still have these conversations with myself with the new version of Veronica who lived in me, but I just had not unlocked her. And to me, I'm not saying alcohol is an issue for others. It was my issue.
Right.
It was my issue, certain relationships, certain decisions, certain actions that, caused shame that, I didn't know how to balance because I'm learning my personality type. Again, all gas, no brakes. I don't know how to do anything small. I fall on the 2% spectrum of extreme and a lot of behaviors that I have as I've been dealing with understanding the science of who I am and my personality type. Right? It's why I am intense. It's who I am who I was born. I've always been that person who's just go all in or nothing. And it was no different than I didn't know how to have just 1 glass of wine.
Right.
So that's just one example, right? So when I made that decision, I said, I'm going to commit to this right now. This is my decision. It was that and my nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And I started listening to my gut, and I started listening to how food affects my life, my brain, my heart, my stomach, everything. And I said, I'm going to start with those two. And I'm going to just do the best I can every single day to get better. Every single day I'm going to learn. And I started off with just not eating fried food, not eating like bad carbs. I cut out sugar. I cut out things that really weren't good for me naturally because I talked to my doctor. And then
Right.
I started listening to my body and say, oh, wait, this also doesn't feel good. I cut out breads. I cut out rice. I cut out things that like might expand my stomach, things like that I was like, oh,
But you
I
had to be
actually don't.
still. You had to be still to hear your body. I bet some people are listening to this saying, how'd her body tell her that? You have to singularly pull things out of your eating and then listen to your body and then adjust and listen. So
Yes.
all of it relates.
Yes. Well, and it was being still, and then you said listening to your body, and then challenging yourself to the next level, right? So it was like, okay, the weight's coming off. People are saying I'm glowing. The non-alcohol glow is coming out. You feel better. You sleep better. Less anxiety. But I still have anxiety. So right. So then my next phase was like, okay, what can help me? It's like these walks,
Yeah.
these hikes, these challenging myself to say, you know what? I don't need my phone. I don't need anything. Taking off apps off of my phone that are distractors and
Yes.
just saying I'll schedule that time to play, but right now I need to be hyper focused, right? And what
Right.
does hyper focus mean? Like even if I do 25 minutes of a workout that just burned some calories and moved, I'm learning to say that was better than if I did nothing,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. And it just took a moment to just start giving myself some grace, listening and just saying, like you said, one mailbox at a time,
Mm-hmm.
one mailbox at a time, whether it's in my eating and in my decisions that I've made. And I've been focusing a lot on me, and now it's overflowing into my business.
Yeah.
Now, my team, like they see it and they respect what I say because they know I'm working on getting better from the core. And I want the business to be strong, and I want the people that I lead to be strong. And I can't impose this on them. But what I can let them know is that, listen, I've committed to showing up as the best leader that I can for all of us. And hopefully, if it inspires you to take a look within where you need to make improvements,
Right.
then I feel like I've done, a small part in showing up as a leader for you. And we're seeing people read more books. We're seeing people have more accountability. We're seeing people say, hey, you know what? No excuses. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm going to own the areas that I might need to work on. And I would say my role as a leader is like, okay, well, how can I support you?
Right.
So even
On your
incentivizing our
journey,
team.
right? Their journey is not going to
Yes.
look like your journey. And I do think, Veronica, I remember years ago, one of the ladies I worked for, she wanted everybody to look like her. So all of a sudden we had all these blonde hair, ponytails, all this makeup, except for me because I'm short hair. And, so I stood out because everybody wanted to emulate exactly what she looked like. And I just wanted to be some of the good qualities I wanted to take of hers and give to myself. But you don't ever have the need as a leader. Everybody doesn't have to have the journey. If you're not having a glass of wine, that doesn't mean everyone needs to not have a glass of wine. Your journey
No,
is different
absolutely.
than theirs, and they can count on
Absolutely.
you.
And I think we're just on this mission to say, how can we help you be the better version of you? And what
Right.
does that look like? It doesn't look like my journey. I simply want to be a conduit to help you discover your journey. And I was thinking about this earlier today in relationships and forgiveness and, forgiving myself, and whether it's even in your marriage, I'm so proud of Tony and I, like we had a lot of chaos in our lives, right? So the coaches that we have now are even coaching us on like, hey, are you marriage first, business partners first, visionary third? Like, which do you want to be in the order? And we had to kind of shuffle
And
things
what
like,
is the
hey, our
order
marriage
now?
is first. So it's marriage first, partners second, and then the visionary integrator, right? Where that will fall in, and how we can support each other, right? Me being an alpha female doesn't mean that he can't be the king, right? In our
Right.
lives. And just having the honest conversation of like, where are we stronger together? And how can we support each other being stronger together? It took a lot of boundaries. It took a lot of discovery and
Right.
placing some boundaries in our lives. But even there, like, all this is just really turned on the lights for us to say, where else can we improve? We have the power within us, all of us, to improve our lives by the choices that we make, and just giving ourselves grace, committing, but one step at a time. And for me, I've just learned by great mentors like yourself, by John, and other people who are just winners, right? We all have baggage. We all have BS in our lives. No one's perfect. But if we show up with just an open heart, an open mind, and a commitment to change, that's where the game changer. That's a game changer. Susan, I know you've got to go, and I've got to go. This is a short little session of Fire Friday, but one of my favorites so far. Leave us with some final words. What do we? What can we do?
You said something about when the lights are on, you all are who you are. But now I know about Tony and Veronica. When the lights are off, and it's just the two of you, you're who you are, and that makes a difference. So what I would say to anybody watching is, when the lights are on, when the lights are off, when people are watching, when they're not watching, make sure you're truly who you are and you're seeking improvement. And the other thing I would say is, I just watched or listened to a podcast. James Lawrence did 101 triathlons in 101 days. And he said, what's really tough when you do that is, obviously that is really, really tough. So we're not going to talk about that. But on the 102nd day, who are you? So Veronica, I would challenge you. You've had this great transition, and it's so evident to you, and it's extreme. So when it's not extreme, how are you going to settle in the day-to-day of just, which is huge, day-to-day improvement? So those are conversations we can have when all the extreme changes are done, and it's lifestyle. So I would say it starts with habits, and then it's discipline with your habits, and then it's lifestyle. But there's not something necessary as glamorous when it's lifestyle, because it's a part of who you are every day. So when it's lifestyle, there's a victory and a win. But how do you maintain that and continue to feed yourself and feel good without the extreme changes? So I think that's what's next.
I'm excited about that journey. It's who I strive to be, and then be still, just enjoy the journey, fall in love with the process. Thank you, Susan, so much for everything. We can't wait to have you back. I know that you'll be back because you have so much to offer us, and I can't wait to see who you are and who I am when we come back next time.
Perfect. Looking forward to it. Let's be still together.